Hi, Banks. Gonna help me film? Yeah? Hey folks, my name is Jen, and today I'm going to talk to you about what I am planning on reading in the month of May. So full disclosure, it is not quite the end of May yet, but I'm just trying to get ahead in my filming. And we have a casual background because A, I've just been doing some spring cleaning, so I'm just lazy, and two, or B rather, I'm tired. I have a stack of books here, but I don't know if I'm gonna get to all of them, so I'm just keeping this video pretty casual and loosey-goosey because TBRs, off and on over the past couple of years, TBRs have been kind of working, kind of not at the same time. This year they do not seem to be working very well for me. I'm having a real problem sticking to what I want to read and also reading. What I have here are just hopefuls. So let's get into what I'm hoping to potentially get to. So first off, the unfinished book of the month, my Nightstand of Shame pick, is Understood Betsy by Dorothy Canfield Fisher. I started reading this in March, for like middle grade March, and didn't finish it. I'm only like a couple of chapters in. This is about a girl named Elizabeth Ann, or Betsy, and she's kind of a sickly kid, and the members of her family are also really sickly, and I forget exactly what they have, but they get something that is fairly contagious, and because they A, can't really take care of her while they're sick, and B, don't want her to get it, they are sending her off to her terrible Pownell relatives, aka her family who live in Vermont. So she is in like a small town, or a city maybe, and she is being sent to the country to stay with her like farming relatives. So it's just another one of those tales about a little girl being sent to the country and discovering herself and nature and all that stuff. So yep, thought that was pretty good to get back into this for May. And then my classic for the month, I've got a couple picks really for the classic of the month. Along the lines of Little Girl Goes to the Country, I figured, well, I did a reread of Secret Garden last year for the purpose of, hey, it's a springtime read, so I figured that this year I could reread Anne of Green Gables. This is by Ellen Montgomery. It is the first in like a whole series. It follows like Anne or her like future offspring. So this is about Anne Shirley. She is an orphan, and she has been adopted by Marilla and Matthew Cuthbert. They are originally looking for a boy because they want some help around the farm, but decide to take a chance on the very precocious Anne. This is basically like her growing up there in Green Gables on Prince Edward Island. And my other sort of classic pick for the month is Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. I have been wanting to give this a reread because I've been wanting to get more into Vonnegut's other works, and I figured a good place to start would be to just reread something that I had read of his previously. We were assigned this in like, I don't know, sophomore or junior year of high school, and I remember enjoying it, but from what it says on the back, because this is like dealing with the Dresden firebombing, and also has alternate timelines of Billy Pilgrim, who is like the main character, and he was there in Dresden during World War II, and there's also other timelines after, far in the future, involving like aliens and stuff. It's a very weird book, and I remember being very amused by it at the time. when I was a teenager, but I really want to see what I'm gonna feel about it now as an adult, when I'm probably reading way more into it than I did at the time. And along the lines of reading something about World War II, I also figure now is a good time to read Mouse by Art Spiegelman. I have the 2 volumes. The first is My Father Bleeds History, and the second is And Here My Troubles Began. So this is a graphic novel memoir about Art Spiegelman, or more specifically about his father and his father's experience within the concentration camps, and how that trauma and everything that his parents went through have also affected the author himself. So this is, yeah, I believe there's only the 2 volumes, and I have heard that this is a very, like, beautifully done memoir. It's obviously going to be a rough reading experience, but I very much wanted to read it, especially with the fact that it is being, like, banned at an alarming rate. So I feel like, you know, I should be reading this as well. I really want to also pick up My Fine Fellow by Jenica Cohen. This is a gender-swapped retelling of My Fair Lady. This is taking place in the 1800s and has to do with these 2 friends, Helena Higgins and Penelope Pickering. They are basically 2 students at the academy, and they want to become culinarians, and like Helena desperately wants to reach like stardom, and Penelope wants to be able to introduce like Filipina, dishes into the English palate. And the problem is that neither of them are being taken very seriously because they're both female. But then they find Elijah Little. He is a young Jewish man who is like a skilled, like, pastry chef. But unfortunately, because of his Jewish heritage, no one will allow him to open a shop within town. So the 2 women decide to take Elijah under their wing and kind of give him a makeover. Basically, and they can all work together to like make a name for themselves. I'm pretty excited about this because food, historical story, the concept sounds pretty cool, and also, like I said, it's a gender-swapped retelling of My Fair Lady. I freaking love My Fair Lady. It is such a great musical, plus it's starring the lovely and talented Audrey Hepburn. So, along the lines of me picking this up, I also plan on doing a rereading of Pygmalion by George Bernard Shaw, and this is actually the play that My Fair Lady is based off of. So, yeah, it's about Henry Higgins, who is a linguistics, like, expert, and he decides that he's going to take this, like, Cockney flower girl and help her with her linguistics and do, like, a makeover and basically show her off to high society and pass her off as like a high society lady. So yeah, these, I don't know, they both kind of have that spring feel to me too, so I'm pretty into reading this, and I just wanted to give this a reread anyway because I remember I really enjoyed this back in college, and I've got like 5 million snarky notes in here from my time with it back then. The last couple of books that I'm thinking I would maybe like to get to this month, the first, it just kind of feels maybe like a spring-ish read, and also it's one of those books that I grabbed from my parents' house, and it's one of those books that I read when I was younger and enjoyed, but I wanted to read it again and see if this is still something that I want to keep on my shelves or it's something that I want to donate. And that book is Beauty by Robin McKinley. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. It's basically, I think this is, I think a retelling from what I remember that is fairly close to the original, like, fairy tale. So it has the familiar elements of Beauty is like the nickname that her father gave her, and her spoiled siblings are all rich, and then her father like loses some money, and then they all have to go move into the country and try to survive through poverty, and then all she asks for is a flower, and her father goes and gets the flower, and then that's the flower is the one that curses him, because the beast now says, well, you have to stay here or give me your daughter, kind of, you know, the tale, the original tale. This is, from what I can remember, is fairly faithful to the original fairy tale, but I think there were like some other elements in here that were pretty interesting too, but I have not read this since I was a teenager, so this will be an interesting experience to hop back into this. And the last thing that I'm feeling like I might get to in May, again, most of these are pretty tentative. Like right now, I really want to read them, but who knows what will happen in May. This one is the one that's the most tentative out of everything. And that is Angus Thongs and Full Frontal Snogging by Louise Renison. This is the first book in the Georgia Nicholson series. So this is a series that is told in like diary entries, basically, of a teenage girl named Georgia. I feel like I should just read what it says on the back so you can get a taste of what this is if you have no idea. Has got the mentality of a Teletubby, only not so developed. Her cat Angus is trying to eat the poodle next door, and her best friend thinks she looks like an alien, just because she accidentally shaved off her eyebrows. Erlach. Still, add a little boy stalking, teacher baiting, and full frontal snogging with a sex god, and George's year just might turn out to be the most fabbity fab ever. So, this takes place in England. I freaking loved this series as a teenager. I thought they were the funniest fucking things ever. I only had volumes 1 through 7. I don't know why I never read or had the last 3 books at that time. It might have been because by that time I was going off to college and I was just like reading other stuff. I'm not sure. I grabbed this series from my parents' house like last year or the year before, and then I ended up buying the last 3 books. So what I have been wanting to do is reread the entire series and also finish it, and I've been thinking that it might be fun to like make like a vlog about reading this whole series and seeing how I feel about it like now. Is it still funny as it was when I was like 15, 16? It's also scary because I don't know if my sense of humor is still in the same place or not. So it'll be an interesting experience. But yeah, I'm wanting to give this whole series a reread. I just don't know if I am going to be starting it this month. I would like to start it in May and probably continue through the summer reading this series, but I don't know if this will happen next month at all. I might just end up reading the whole series during the summer, but if I do have the time, I would like to start off my reread in May. So yeah, folks, that is everything that I am potentially, tentatively going to be reading in May. Again, super tentative because having trouble being in the mood overall for books or certain books. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you guys anyway for watching. Thank you so much for always watching. If you would like to subscribe, please consider doing so. And if you've read any of these books, or you're interested in any of these books, let me know down below. But otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Bye!